Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to our next interview. I'm excited about our next conversation because we're going to be talking about coaching. And as many of you know, it's one thing that's near and dear to my heart is how we can coach and help other people be better, achieve their goals. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about it from fitness standpoint, from a standpoint of people really getting this like complete coaching solution. So I'm excited to have our guest today, Clarissa from Vegan Fit for Life. And we're going to not only take a moment to learn a little bit about her business, her journey, but also understand how her coaching is different. I think for many of us, when we start businesses, when we're thinking about building a business, we struggle with identifying our niche, figuring out where we can really help and how we can make sure that our customers and clients get results. I had a chance to jump on Clarissa's website and look around, and the results are amazing. So it's great to see that. So I'm hoping we have some time to just chat today and give people a little bit of insight into how you make it all happen, how the magic happens, and how you've really been able to help people get to the root of some of their challenges and ultimately get them the success that they've been trying to achieve. So, first off, Clarissa, welcome. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really looking forward to this talk. Um, Looking back at the business, it's been a journey. Don't know very many people that start out and they're instantly successful. This is our ninth year in business. We actually did not start as a vegan coaching company. That encompasses part of my own personal journey. Um, like when I started coaching, I was very much into the bodybuilding world and having to eat meat for the protein, and otherwise we're not going to get results. And that's something that really went against everything that I had felt about health for a long time. I had grown up and had been vegetarian since I was, in my teens, and then even going through pregnancies, I'd go back to being vegetarian. So just having to cram down all this protein really wasn't in alignment with what I felt was healthy, but also it really didn't make me feel healthy. Like I had horrible digestive issues.
Mhm.
So as I transitioned back to vegetarian and then eventually vegan, I decided that those were the people that we needed to help. There's millions and millions of other coaches, that do perpetuate that you have to eat meat and dairy. And if that's where you're living at, then, go work with those coaches. But there weren't a lot of vegan coaches. So we kind of settled down on that niche. And that's really how we transitioned from our company used to be called Elite Fit for Life, and then we transitioned over to Vegan Fit for Life because that's really where the health is at. Is eating a plant-based diet. It's best for us. It's best for the environment. It's definitely best for the animals for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you shared that because I think for some people, they worry about how should they position themselves and how, does the business get balanced with our own journeys. And often I think sometimes people worry that if they make a switch or a change, or maybe we have someone listening today who is vegan themselves and they want to take their business on that journey or that transition. Do you have any advice for them? Like, did you have any aha moment or any
Yeah.
hesitations or maybe even worries about if I make this transition, would XYZ happen? Like, how did you prepare yourself and make sure that you kind of had that successful landing, knowing that you're going to have to pivot?
Right. To me, honestly, like the best thing that I can say is just do it. Because if you're living your life that way and that is what is in alignment with you, you're going to be far more successful promoting and being invested in a business that is also in alignment with your life. It allows, for full transparency. It makes you really authentic. And then, like you said, it makes you also really relatable to the people that you want to work with.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key is that connection with your
Mm.
customers, with your clients is such a dynamic and amazing thing about a coaching business, which is really different from other models that
Mhm.
really allows people to, really connect on that. One-on-one or even in a group sometimes setting. So let's give people a little bit more glimpse into what you do and why do you kind of feel your coaching is different? I know I spent some time on
Mhm.
your website and you talked about kind of like that complete coaching. Can you
Right.
walk me through what do you mean by that and what's the difference?
Right. No, that's an excellent question. So the complete coaching is something I am extremely proud of. That is the process that we have developed now is something that's taken me 5 years to build, to have all of the pieces in place. And again, maybe that's something that could have gone faster, but the way that we have it now is absolutely perfect. And everyone that works for us in any capacity is also plant-based. So we're really bringing the connection piece across the whole board. Um, our our complete coaching is really special. I know that we are the only company in the entire world that is vegan and does what we do. So that is something I always like to say because it's such of high value. When people come in, we're very often working with women that have been struggling to lose weight for a long time. Sometimes they've been vegan for a long time. Sometimes going vegan or plant-based was like a last attempt to, do something to get the weight off, and then still nothing happened. But then they've fallen in love with this way of eating, where they want to continue it because they are seeing so many positive changes health-wise, but still the weight doesn't shift. So when these women come in, they very often have underlying issues. And what we do with the complete coaching is we identify those issues with real data. So we do extensive testing for gut health, for hormone health, and for metabolism health. With that being done and having actual real labs run, they're actually able then to meet with, we have an LNP that is a hormone specialist that works with us. And so they're actually able to meet with a licensed doctor if they need, prescription grade help in getting some of these issues resolved. So from there, once we have the data and we've met with the doctor, we have a solid plan for identifying the things that have been causing these issues and keeping them from finding success as far as their body composition goes. And they generally end up feeling, 1,000 times better as well once we address underlying issues.
And I love that you take the time for that. I think sometimes when we're coaching, often people want to get to the finish line as fast as they can. So they're like, just tell me what to do, or tell me how you did it, or tell me how this person did it. I'll do the exact same thing.
Mhm.
But the reality is, even for really all coaching, kind of environments, whether it's your space, even in other spaces, even if you repeat exactly what someone else is doing, it doesn't always mean you get the same results because we're
Mhm.
often on different journeys. We're in different journeys personally, we're in different journeys as businesses, and even everything in between. So how do you kind of reassure your clients? How do you help people take that pause so that they're willing to dive deep and understand what the issue is before jumping to, giving me a quick solution, or even like on your website, just give me a meal plan and I'll go do it.
Yeah, no. So there is, with all the coaching, there is always, a decent amount of reassurance that has to happen. For individuals, that'll look different for everyone. Like maybe someone is okay when we get the labs back and we're like, hey, this is why you haven't been able to lose weight in the last 10 years, because you have this huge imbalance or this thing that really needs to be addressed. And sometimes they're okay with that, and we correct that and they start feeling better. And as they start feeling better, the physical changes do tend to happen like more as a byproduct of feeling better and having more realistic self expectations. But then we still do have those other clients that they need reassurance, on like a weekly basis or a monthly basis, or, they'll just have a moment where they freak out and they think everything's not working. So then we can, because we've done the testing, we have the data, and we're like, it's okay. Maybe we're not where we want to be at this moment, but we're resolving these other issues. And if you don't resolve them now, you will have to resolve them, at a future point, and that will take more time. It will take more money. So you're doing the work. It's hard work. We call it boring work, but it gets the job done, and in a manner that's sustainable.
Yeah, I love that. That is sustainable because that's the key is you really want to be able to unlock the challenge, but
Mhm.
ultimately be able to, take this and turn it into a lifestyle and turn it into something that you just do. And therefore, the results continue to come in because you've, like you said, you've corrected the challenge or
Mhm.
removed the roadblock because you understand what really was potentially holding you back.
Right.
One thing you said earlier, I'm just going to rewind a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
First off, you mentioned that you've been doing this for 9 years. So,
Right.
first off, I just want to say congratulations
Thank
because
you.
it does take a certain amount of like grit and grind and,
Mhm.
persistence to run a business long term.
Mhm.
The other thing I heard you say is that, developing this methodology took you about 5 years.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to take a minute and talk about this because I think many of us as entrepreneurs, or sometimes when we read the headlines or we hear these like entrepreneurial stories. It sounds like, someone had a dream at night and then the next day they hit millions, or the next day, everything was solved, or the next day, do you know what I mean? They started this business and everyone loved it. And I really think there's a level of patience and commitment that it takes to build a business and build a true methodology.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to commend you for that 5 year journey, because many of us, even when we run a business, we kind of are like, let's jump to the end as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. I still feel like that a lot.
That's the challenge. But I also want to talk about, how did you kind of work through developing a methodology
Mhm.
so that you did have your own kind of secret sauces, sometimes I like to say, because
Right.
I think sometimes people don't take the time it takes to develop that methodology,
Mhm.
because sometimes either they don't know they have it in them, or sometimes we can you know shortchange our coaching and turn it into a commodity, like, oh, I'll just help people. And the
Mhm.
idea is that, yes, you want to help people, but you want to have a way that you help people that yields consistent results.
Mhm.
And that's a different type of business and a way to distinguish. So how did you find your way through that maze? Did you have any roadblocks, have any doubts along the way,
Oh,
that you maybe would share with our audience today?
yeah, yeah. No, there's always tons of doubt. I mean, if you own a business, there's always tons of doubt, and it's just it's really believing that if you want to do something, if your goal, if your intent is pure, that you're helping people, then I think that as long as you don't give up on yourself, that at some point, yes, you will reach that goal. Um, yeah, the instant overnight success stories, those can tend to get in the way and give you a lot of that imposter syndrome. But I really believe if you narrow down on the niche where you want to work, really identifying who your ICA is, and then listen to them. They'll give you the feedback on what they want and on what they need. And so that's what we did with a lot of clients. And it not just like verbal feedback or written feedback, but also looking at their progress journeys. So part of the reason that we do things with the testing the way that we do now is because we would get into a program 3 6 months with somebody and have all these issues come up, and not
Mhm.
have them be able to actually reach their goal because there's this roadblock in the way. And no matter what we change as far as nutrition goes, or if we increase their cardio, like all of the textbooks say, decrease your food, increase your output, and results happen. But sometimes they don't. And when they don't is when that testing needs to happen. But if we can eliminate that big hump in the middle, and instead take care of those things in the beginning, then once we get to month 3 and month 6, then the person is feeling better. We don't have a giant obstacle to overcome because we took care of that work in the beginning. um, and then, like I said, in listening to clients too, is once you get through the program, once we've restored everything in your foundation, we've gotten you to your physique goal, and then the last piece is making sure that you have those tools to sustain long term. Like, we don't ever want you to have to come back. Occasionally people do, but that's not our goal. We want you to be successful long term. So something else that we've worked into the program to make it truly complete is that once you're finished, you still have access to our community. You're still getting resources. You can still reach out inside that community group if you have a question, if you feel like you're struggling with something. And there you have a team of qualified coaches that someone knows, some of your background history, and can actually give you an answer that is helpful, instead of, just veering off into the next Facebook group and getting information from who knows who. That's probably not relevant to you.
Yeah, that can be tricky when you're gathering information from all different sources and trying to
Yes.
pull it together. I do tell a lot of people you have to really vet who's going to be your source of information, and then kind of stick to that circle that you built, as opposed to just kind of bouncing around and
Yes.
pulling from this piece versus that piece, because they're not always from the same stream of consciousness, from the
Right.
same perspective, trying to get the same result. But I really love the fact that you said you have a community. And one thing I just want to understand, how long do you work with people in your
So
program?
the core program, the complete coaching, is 12 months.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And
We
I
have
love that.
Yeah, we do have some other programs that are like 4 weeks long, but we're not ever going to achieve in 4 weeks what we do in a year. That's more for the people that are, looking for something right now. They want their exercise plan, they want their meal plan, and yeah, our goal though is to be able to cultivate a relationship with them during that 4 week period, and then be able to help them really dig into the issues that are holding them back.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree. Often it does take a lot longer than people
Hmm.
expect. It takes a while. And not just that, because we're not just teaching people what they need to do, as coaches.
Hmm.
They need time to apply it. They need
Yes.
time to take that concept and put it into real life and then bump into whatever their, everyday challenges are so they can come back to the coach and say, okay, I tried this and this is what happened. And I tried this and this is what happened. This is where I was successful and this wasn't. And I think helping people understand that, the coaching process is not just a prescription per se. It's not
Right.
just a here's the guide. It's really being able to have that back and forth as someone
Hmm.
applies what they're learning and making adjustments along the way, and them having that kind of trusted guide that walks alongside them. And I think anytime you can build a coaching business that people feel like someone is there with them
Hmm.
can really be very impactful.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you said something. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Let's start that over.
Oh, that's
As
okay.
far as the accountability piece goes, when we're speaking back and forth with a client, and they're wanting to do something, but we need them to apply this other technique in order, to help them with the long-term goals. We're looking at that long-term goal far more often than the client is, and I think there's some mindset shift there that needs to happen. But when we actually, as coaches, we really like it actually when something large happens in the client's life, and at a time what they would like to say, hey, let's press pause. We don't usually, we're not a fan of that, because we're like, here, let us help you navigate the stressful situation, because there's going to be more stressful situations in your life at some point, and this is an excellent opportunity for you to learn what is going to be beneficial for you, but also how you can have better levels of self expectation during stressful times.
Yeah. And I think that's so key how we all try to figure out how to persevere
Mm.
when there's stress, when there's challenges, because I really feel like those experiences are really what drives us forward. When we can
Mhm.
remember a time that, it's kind of like stumbling and falling and getting up. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know that, okay, yeah, that hurt a little bit, but on the other side of it is a chance for me to do it again, is a chance for me to try it again. And once you create that kind of like successful track record, it's
Mhm.
so important to remember the fact that you know how to persevere so that, the next challenge or the next thing that tries to derail you, you're like, wait a minute, I've been here before. It was hard, but
Mhm.
I did it. And I think that reassurance and that memory can be something amazing for people to almost carry forward into that, like you
Mhm.
said, that sustainability.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly why we do that.
So, one other thing that often comes up for people
Mhm.
that I talk to when they're building businesses, especially for people who are coaches, excuse me,
Mhm.
what they often struggle with is like, how do I get clients? How do I find
Mhm.
people? And I'm curious if you want to share anything that you've either tried and tested,
Mhm.
anything that you've seen that's worked, because, finding customers or clients can be such a unique path for different businesses. And I think sometimes it's nice to kind of hear how we've all kind of figured it out. And what I love about you being in business for 9 years, even pre and post, making the vegan switch.
Mhm.
But what I found is what worked for me, maybe even 5 years ago, is not what I do today. And I love to often share with people how your marketing will ebb and flow. Your marketing
Mhm.
is not just I do this, I get results, and I do it forever. You really kind of tweak it over time. So anyway, that was a really long question. let's back up.
Uh,
Let's just see. What would you like to share maybe around how you
yeah.
find customers and how has that maybe changed over the years?
Right. Honestly, I think it's been super similar over the years. There's always, a little bit of adventure into ads. Some of those are, you know, are promising as far as leads go, some of them utterly fail. That's not something that I want in my wheelhouse anymore. So going forwards, we're going to hire out that part of advertising. But as far as like gaining clients on a regular basis is more, and always has been, about making connections. So we do use social media for that, and it's making connection through our through the content that we share each day. We try to be consistent as far as putting out something at least 5 times a week, and then the email list too. For us, social media has been far more profitable than email list or even the ads. And I think that's really because people just they want connection. If that's something, that coronavirus showed us that we absolutely needed to have was more connection. So that's something that we found to be the most beneficial as far as growing our business. And I think now too, we're seeing the increase in the artificial intelligence, but I think that all that is going to do, yes, it's great to have that information. Yes, I think a lot of it is going to be very helpful, but it will completely eliminate and erase human connection. So if we can still be that voice out there and still, hey, we're here, we're real people, and we care about you and we want you to be successful, I think is going to be far more impact that of approaching it that way.
Absolutely. I think that touch point, people being able to reach out and
Mm-hmm.
connect. And, especially since many of us do so much work remotely, I
Yes.
think it's very helpful because, not everyone has a local support system. Not everyone has, a local either community or even local resources. So being able to kind of take what we used to do, and maybe I'm also saying my age, but people used to do like in person, or we
Mm-hmm.
considered that connection always was like, get in the car or walk down the street or grab a bus and go see people and connect. Being able to take that into a virtual environment where people still feel connected to the group of people that really believe in, and really are committed to similar things, I think is so important that we maintain it. And we've always had new things come along. I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have cell phones. I mean, I grew up, we didn't have internet. so,
Right.
so definitely a little bit older. But I say that to say, even with AI coming, it doesn't mean we have to lose that personal touch. It
No.
doesn't mean that we have to lose it. So I definitely feel like it's so important to navigate it. But one follow-up question I have with
Mhm.
social media, and I get this from a lot of my clients, so I'm curious how you guys have managed this, is that like I even love social media as well, but social media has the challenge of keeping up with those
Mhm.
responses and comments and direct messaging and all that stuff, that sometimes where people struggle is, they'll get the post out in a sense, but
Mhm.
really like curating that connection is something that people struggle with. Is that something that you guys just figured out early on? Is that something where you had to kind of navigate your way through so that, it wasn't just pretty photos or,
Mhm.
cool videos? It really became a connected tissue. How did you guys kind of achieve that and make that work for you?
Oh, it's definitely been a work in progress for sure. Um, and I think it's always, testing out different types of the copy to see, what is resonating most. But again, with that, it's a lot of it goes back to really being in alignment with your client, with the person that you want to work with. Um, and then once they're engaged on the content, and you're having a conversation, um, that part is still a work in progress. Sometimes conversations go really well, and they end up in having a new client. Sometimes the conversations just like fizzle out, and I think that's a lot. I almost want to say that's a lot of, I think that people are overwhelmed by notifications, and so it's easy to just kind of forget that, oh, you were having a conversation here because you have 20 million notifications on your phone. So I think that's really where that disconnect comes from when that happens.
Yeah. And then one other thing we've been doing more and more of, and I've been teaching more of, is teaching people how to continue to follow up.
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes we think as business owners, and also, sometimes we don't want to be too pushy. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're like, oh, a person's probably not interested. But I think you made a really good point that sometimes people just forget, they get
Mm-hmm.
distracted, they have other conversations. So being willing to touch base with people 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
later, a month later, and not kind of expecting everything to be instant, meaning someone reaches out and says they're interested and they're going to sign up in the next 10 minutes. The idea is that this does take a process. Sometimes people have to think about it. Sometimes they'll disappear for a month or two and then come back
Mm-hmm.
because even with me being in business for years, I get so surprised how many people will like sign up for a program and they'll be like, oh, I've been listening to your podcast, I've been coming to your webinars for like the last 3 years. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's really, sometimes a little bit reassuring, but also a good, like, kind of sobering moment when you realize that the marketing is an extended process. It is a way of keeping that spark and that communication alive. And yes, there'll be people who sign up today. There'll be people who want to sign up or wish they signed up an hour ago. But there also will be people that you want to keep that constant communication with and build kind of like a kind of continuous process where you can nurture people along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. We had somebody reach out last week, maybe the week before, that had been following us for like you said, 2 or 3 years. And she's like, I'm going to sign up. I finally have all the money saved. And I've never even had a real conversation with her. But it's just, if you continue to show up and you're speaking to the people that you want to work with, it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so key that we continue to show up because,
Mhm.
it's not fair to say, hey, customer client or potential customer client, would you show up? And we as business owners don't show up consistently. We
Mhm.
really have to, make that first effort and take that first step. I think that is really key. So let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about what's kind of next on the horizon. Is there anything new that you guys are working on that's not super, super secret that you
Mhm.
can share?
Yeah.
Is there anything that our audience should know about? Maybe if some people are listening today and they're maybe interested in signing up themselves or want to learn a little bit more about your program.
Right. So working on, we have a brand new product that we just launched last month. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
for gut health, and it's not, we're not doing any outcome goals like promising to lose any weight. The goal of this product is just to help you feel better. So resolving any gut issues. It includes the testing and then one-on-one work with our gut health specialist. So that's something that's new. I believe that one is a 12-week program. So
Perfect.
like I said, it's not weight loss focused or anything cool like that. But if you haven't been feeling well and you're suspecting that something at gut health is at play there, then that's an excellent program for somebody to get started with.
I like that. I like how you're doing kind of an extension of some of the
Yeah.
work that you're already doing and allowing people to maybe jump in
Mhm.
a place like this. Or, like you said, if someone kind of suspects or knows they have an issue, they can coach their way through that to get some results.
Right. You're right. And it still gives them the opportunity, to be able to work through things with a coach rather than just, purchasing a product and then having to figure it out on your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if people are interested in working
Mhm.
with you, if people just want to learn more, if people are just excited to support you in any way, what's the
Mhm.
best way for them to get in touch? Website, social
Mhm.
media handles, email address? What's the way
Yeah.
they should connect with you?
Social media is always great. It's Vegan Fit for Life across all the platforms. So I think we're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok. Yes. And then YouTube as well. So that's where we are. Website is veganfitforlife.com. And you can always, if you prefer to have a more private conversation, you can always email me at Clarissa, my name, at veganfitforlife.com.
Perfect, perfect. And then as we wrap up today, I always love people to maybe share something on their journey, something that they went through, whether you want to share personal or on the business side.
Mhm.
But any advice you have either for our audience based on maybe a challenge, something that you worked through, would you want to share that with them and maybe advice on how they can overcome it? Because I think for a lot of people, we know where we want to go, we know what we want to achieve, but the journey can be bumpy. the process can be sometimes discouraging and sometimes just cloudy. And I always
Mhm.
think it's good to hear from people who have, either charted their own path before through success, like what you've done with your organization, your business. But also, I think sometimes it's nice as business owners to share some of these stories so that others can be inspired, especially if maybe today they're going through something hard, or this week, or when they're listening to this, this could maybe be some inspiration for them.
Right. Yeah, no, I think, one of the things that has really helped me the most is hiring a business coach. Like I had the business on, just my own, doing my own thing for years. And yes, I was helping a few people but I wasn't really growing. Like every year, income was the same for 6 years, I guess, or 5 years. But then I knew that, I wanted the business to grow. So I hired a coach. Actually, this is like the third coach I've hired. But I lucked out. This one is really, really good because there are a lot of business coaches that aren't that great. And since working with him, we've been able to expand the business by, I think, like 300% over the last 3 years. So even though, we can have the passion and the desire to help others, but, unless we have gone to school for marketing or gone to school for business, which I haven't done either of those things, you really are just kind of winging it because you really don't understand what you're doing. So get a coach, and that applies, in all areas of life. I think having a coach or a mentor or, a therapist even can just help so much in offloading a lot of the confusion, like you said, that pops up. Like you don't know where you're going, or you do, but it's kind of like scary. It can help to really offset that and give you some positive reinforcement and
I
some
love
guidance.
and someone to talk to. I think
Yeah,
sometimes it can be a like weird kind of lonely road when you're running a business, and having somebody who you can bounce ideas off of can really
yeah,
help, and
yeah.
someone who can help you, when you have those days that either create doubt or create some discouragement, having somebody say, that's part of the process. That's not really a
Right.
showstopper. It can be really helpful to be like, oh, okay, I didn't have that perspective. I thought this meant the world. And really, it just was, an
Right.
isolated, bad day or experience or
Right.
something like that. So I think
Yeah.
that is a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for sharing with our community and our audience, your business, what you've done. And hopefully, I'm thinking, we inspired some people to not only understand, how important it is to understand your customer, and also really make sure that you hone in your product
Mhm.
to that really specific person that you're helping, but building that methodology, building an approach, building something that really is kind of your way of getting people to that, next transition, or getting to that next milestone
Mhm.
in their process. I really love the advice that you provided. And I really love that you've shown people that, running a business and success is also a long journey. It's kind of more of a
Mhm.
marathon than a sprint. And it's
Oh, for
just
sure.
beautiful to see the work that you've done, what you've put together, and how you're helping people.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And like you said, I really hope that some people out there found some value.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Um, if you joined us live, love, love, love always having you here. If you're joining us as a recording or listening to us our podcast, we are so happy you're here as well. If you ever have any questions, always jump into the comments, just drop them in there. We will make sure we either pass them on to our guests or answer them ourselves, as well as we love, love, love doing these series because we really hope that we're really coming into your earbuds or on your screen just to really keep you inspired, keep you focused, and understanding that we're all kind of pivoting out there. We're all in this space trying to figure out the right way to serve and help others, and always trying to find a way to kind of navigate this entrepreneurial lifestyle and path so that we can make a not only better planet for us, but better planet for the animals. So I hope today's session was a key point of inspiration for you, and we will see you in our next interview. Bye, everyone.